Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have a awesome show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the whole Tebow thing, which I think, for some reason, just have a feeling it's going to end up being a longer conversation than I certainly thought it was going to be when we were talking about the rundown.
I don't know why.
But we'll figure that one out when we get to it. We also have a couple interesting segments planned. We're going to talk about Super Bowl windows, and we're going to frame it in the conversation of the projected cap space, which just came out. We're going to be using SpoTrack to kind of look at, okay, who are the teams that are in cap hell? Where can we expect these teams that are maybe good, that have a lot of cap space? How is the Super Bowl window for some of these, teams going to look? And I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. We'll see how that goes. And then at the end, we're going to talk about strength of schedule and just take a look at the 2021 season,
of course,
for the NFL. Yeah. All right. Let's get right into it. I want you to start this off with the old Tebow conversation.
Tim Tebow returned to football. It is official now. He is going to be able to sign on as a tight end and hopefully try to make the roster. You know, him and Urban Meyer, they definitely had that connection. And listen, I'm going to say it. He's going to make the team.
Okay. I just wanted, you did say try to make the team, because everyone's saying this is a certainty he's going to make the team.
So it is getting overblown in the fact that, yes, I think people are hyping up this Tebow news a little bit too much. I mean, we see stuff like this happen all the time. But when you're one of the greatest college football players, man,
of all time,
maybe the greatest.
Yeah, and I would never taken that away. I want that to be very clear.
Maybe
yeah,
the
I've always
greatest
said
college
that.
football player we have ever seen. When it comes to the stats, the accolades, the way that he plays, the drive and passion, it's a feel-good story right now.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I want to see him persevere. I want to see him get it done. So we talked before the show, and I was like, "Hey, we got to talk Tebow." And I was like, it might turn into argument. And you were like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm ready for it." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, like we got some Tebow drama coming down."
Listen,
right here.
First of all, I hate this because I'm going to end up coming out as against Tebow. Listen, I am a Florida State fan. I'm wearing my Florida State shirt right now, so I'm going to get hate because I'm a Florida State fan and he played at Florida. But I've always admitted, for like the long time in this group, I think the longest running argument between me and like the rest of our guys' friends, just for everybody watching, was Tebow a bust or not? Yeah. And I've consistently said, yeah, he was a bust. He was. He played one season. He made to the playoffs 1 year. He didn't play good that season. He just had some miraculous comebacks in the fourth quarter multiple times. He was great the last drive, the fourth quarter, all those things. But like, he wasn't incredible as a quarterback. He just had some great endings to, he's a playmaker. He's a winner. And I'll give him that. That's been like the argument. But he just wasn't a great quarterback for the NFL. So I get that. And then I always say, oh, he was a bust. He fell out of the NFL. Now he's coming back at tight end. And it's like, he's 33 years old.
Yes.
Going to go try to play tight end. Like, okay, cool. You're going to make it to the back end of the roster. The only human being in this world that would get this many chances is Tim Tebow. And like, I don't even care. Like, I don't even have a problem from that angle. Like, I'm not even taking the angle like, oh, you're taking a roster spot from somebody who might, like, I don't care. Like, that's not something that even bothers me or like the way I think about it. I just think this whole storyline is kind of dumb. And I feel like it's being pumped up for publicity because Tebow's Tebow and all that. And I don't get why. Urban Meyer, you got Trevor Lawrence. Why do you need this whole Tebow conversation in Jacksonville? Why?
It is weird to think of the timing because I think that there's a lot of positive buzz going on with Jacksonville, like you said before this Tebow news. Yeah. Jacksonville years ago, whenever they're talking about maybe moving the whole team because of how bad they're struggling, maybe going to London and whatnot, maybe then you could do Tebow's story because that gets people talking about Jacksonville. But right now, I think Jacksonville really has a promising future. I can't think of a more exciting time as a Jaguars fan than right now going forward. So yeah, I mean the Tebow news, there's a lot of players coming out and speaking out against Tebow and saying that he doesn't deserve that roster spot, that he had his chance, that it didn't pan out, that this is more of a traveling circus kind of thing, if you will. And that was whenever Tebow was hopping around between the Jets, the Patriots, the few teams here and there going back and forth.
Went to the Eagles for a minute.
That is what people called it. Was a traveling circus.
Yeah, it was, and that's the other part of this whole conversation that kills me is saying, oh, he never got a chance. Is that what we're gonna? Because do you think he got a chance the first time around? So I feel like he had a handful of chances. I'm gonna be honest with you.
He had a chance, and I do think he did serviceable with that chance. Like you said, though, when it comes to overall quarterback play, listen, it looked like Tebow was his throwing mechanics, the motion and all that.
It wasn't good.
It's atrocious. I mean, the throwing mechanics and stuff like that. But the guy is a natural-born winner. The guy paved the way for what I think a Taysom Hill can do now. And
totally fair. And totally fair.
I think all of it does lie, though, all of the blame and guilt or whatever you want to call it, the fact that it did not work out is on Tim Tebow. he wanted to be a quarterback. He said that time and time again.
Yeah,
he said that he would rather go play baseball than have to transition to this other position in the NFL. And, it sucks to say because Tim Tebow happened before the Tim Tebow offense really could have been plugged into the Swiss Army knife.
I would have loved to have seen him.
Man, if he would have done this hybrid tight end,
would have loved it.
Flex, wildcat, come in, throw the ball every now and then, just give an overall spark. The guy's a winner. The guy can make plays. The guy can rally the troops. Yeah. But
so we're not as far apart. We're definitely not as far
as we're both reasonable with it. I can take the other side to it. I think that John Elway didn't give him a fair shake. I think that also the fair shake can, whenever there's a guy like a Peyton Manning who's coming to take your spot, that'll do it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't even think it's not a fair shake. They had Peyton Manning as the other option. So it's like, okay, you take Peyton Manning, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then he goes to the Jets. Couldn't beat out Sanchez for a quarterback spot there. Goes to the Patriots, couldn't win the backup job there. Goes to the Eagles. I'm not even going to pretend to remember which quarterbacks were on the Eagles.
He had a positive season drive.
Exactly. Preseason, exactly. So I'm sorry, the whole didn't give. Okay, he got screwed over in Denver, but it wasn't John Elway's fault. It was Peyton Manning's fault, and I'm sorry. Every single GM makes that decision over Peyton Manning over a Tim Tebow, especially with the team they had. We forget they went to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, didn't they? They got crushed by the Seahawks one year, and they beat the Panthers 1 year too. So they went to the Super Bowl twice with that team. And Peyton Manning was
based on that move, that was a good move.
Peyton Manning was obviously the leader of the team. He had some good years, but his last season, that Super Bowl season against the Panthers, he wasn't the same guy. Come on. So the whole thing, he took a terrible team and made him great. Bro, they weren't great before Tim Tebow, but we can see, having the hindsight of history, that they had a lot of damn good players on that football team. So I'm just
budding and emerging players.
Of course, they were not where they ended up being.
Yeah.
Of course not. But I'm just saying, to say that he took a nobody team and made them something. No, there was a lot of talent on that football team. I just don't think there's any other way you can say it. And then here's the other part of the argument that I'm going to bring up, and you can see what I pulled up on the screen just to check it out, because I wanted to confirm this. He's 33 years old, and he's going to go play tight end. You know who else is 33 years old playing tight end right now? Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's pretty fucking old, isn't he? I'm sorry, everybody Rob Gronkowski's 31. Is that even right? Is he only 31?
Injuries.
Yeah, signed. Yeah, that's his age. Shit. It's just, it's so weird to me that's right. I had to double check. I thought Gronk was a lot older. You have
Jared Cook,
who's old. 33 is old for a tight end.
33 is very old.
Now, granted, he didn't play. I get it. His body is not as worn down. He can certainly, if he has it physically and all those things, maybe he does have a couple of years to be a backup tight end for the Jaguars. I just don't get the hoopla about it, I guess is what I said.
I don't think that this is anything other than Tebow and Urban just being able to connect on a football field and just continue their relationship that they had.
Okay.
And maybe help mentor some of these younger guys.
Okay, I get that side of it. I was about to say, is there any place for that in the NFL when the stakes are this high? But I get the help mentor other guys.
He will be a leader. Jacksonville is going. And
I can see that angle.
Listen, at one point, Florida had Aaron Hernandez, Riley Cooper, who got kicked out of the NFL for racist comments, and Tim Tebow. And
there was a bunch of other ones that you're missing too.
You can look up that Florida team and see what was going on. There was a lot of issues and turmoil, but we never heard about anything. I'm not gonna sit here, but I know the leader of the team.
Yeah,
I know what he was able to keep quiet and get those guys together. So maybe that's the spin.
Hey, that is the spin. You're right, because you sold me on that. You sold me on that. That's the only way you've sold me on the Tim Tebow thing. Even he's a glorified coach. We can say that, and he just wants to be a player or whatever. Yeah. But honestly, and I would have always said, if he would have gone anywhere to be a coach or to be a part of a franchise in any way, I'm 1,000% on board. 1,020, of course. How could you not be?
I just think this move, for looking at his success for his football career, is too late. There was a time where I think he could have made this move.
He could have been a Taysom Hill.
There were teams that would have done that.
Yeah, he could have been a Taysom Hill, and it does suck that he didn't really get that opportunity. He didn't go to the right offensive mastermind to really get that opportunity to be that guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you try and talk to me about Taysom Hill being your franchise starting quarterback, I'll tell you you're crazy. That's been my whole argument.
That's where it's at. I don't think that it was a fair shake for Tebow on the fact that he did not get a system that was willing to be worked around him. He was a first-round pick, right?
Tebow was first round.
Yeah,
he was a late first. They traded him.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's just kind of like, the Ravens move up and get Lamar. Mm-hmm. They have incorporated their entire offensive scheme system for the next however many years that Lamar is going to be Lamar around him.
Yeah, absolutely. They did the same for Cam Newton. The Panthers did the same for Cam Newton. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
It's unfair to think that they got Tebow and they wanted him to be a drop-back passer in the NFL, and they got upset when they realized, man, he's not a drop-back passer in the NFL.
Not. Yeah, that's fair. That is also fair. All right, fair enough. Yeah. I think we're good.
You can put it to rest.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more explosive. I'm not going to lie.
No,
I thought you were going to get on here being like, he's going to be fucking awesome. He's going to be like, I thought it was going to be that kind of conversation.
I can take that route. I can take it. I can spin it if you want, but
we don't want to be fake around here. We're good.
We know what it is.
All right, so let's move on. I'm actually really excited about this conversation. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I think it's interesting. We're going to see. I'll put up a graphic here for you guys to see kind of what we're looking at right now. But this is the projected, and this is all projected. This is all on spotrac.com. You can go check it out straight from the website if you want. Spotrac.com has the projected 2022 cap space, right? And obviously all these things are going to change with re-signings and things like that. But I do think it's interesting because when you look at, and I want to frame this conversation before we really get into it, so just give me a second to hop on my soapbox here. When you look at like NFL teams, we always talk about teams in their Super Bowl window, or like, has their window started? Has their window ended? Like that's always been a common conversation. We talk about it all the time, right? So I want to look at it like, okay, can we use this cap space as like a small indicator? And it's not the end all be all by any means. We know that. It's just a small indicator for how long do some of these windows really last? Are windows going to be opening up for teams that we think are on the rebound, that are going to have the chance to bring in some good talent? Like all of these kind of things. I just think it's interesting. I want to start off with the bottom of the excuse me, I'm sorry, I lost all the word. The projected cap space for 2021. And the Green Bay Packers are 32nd, very last place. They are projected to be $33 million over cap. So negative $33 million. Terrible. Now we've talked about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Everybody's talked about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Let's put that to bed for a second. Let's assume everything, gets ironed out. Things get copacetic. Let's put that on the back burner for just a second and say, we can realistically say the past 2 years they've been in a Super Bowl window. If you make it to the NFC Championship, you win 12 games the past 2 years in a row.
I think if you make it to divisional,
you're in your window, right?
Is a successful season, yeah,
absolutely. So they've been in their window for 2 years. Is it fair to say that after this season, because the roster didn't change very much, they re-signed just about everybody? Is it fair to say that after this year, their window is over?
No, I mean there's ways that they can move the money around and balance the books, but right now, it's just some of their moves don't add up. The paying Aaron Jones, what they paid him after using a second-round pick on an A.J. Dillon, who, we didn't really see A.J. Dillon much, but there were flashes, I guess.
Definitely at the end of the year for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where it made sense. It was like, oh, I see what they're doing now. They have the running back who's about to hit free agency. They're saving the fresh legs till later on in the year. And then they go pay him $15 million or $14.5 and change whatever they paid Aaron Jones.
Overpaid a running back.
Overpaid him to be sitting here looking at negative $33 million when you haven't even paid a top 3 corner in the NFL in Jair Alexander yet. A stable piece to your defense. You take him away. I look at the Packers differently as a whole. You take a few pieces out of those Packers team away. We're talking different, man. They're still in their window. I'm sure they're still going to be able to figure out how to get it going. As long as Aaron Rodgers is a Packer, they will have a window. I stand
that's
by
fair.
that.
And that's totally fair. Aaron Rodgers is the ultimate equalizer.
I think there's a few people in the NFL that have that kind of power
of course. Yeah. Now, but I will admit, for them to be in this kind of cap situation, I am surprised, because I do think if you take Aaron Rodgers away, they still have a really good offensive line. Nobody talks about that, but they do. They have a really good offensive line, and it got better in the draft. They signed a center that I think is going to be their starter, so I can give them that. But beyond that, I mean, they have one great wide receiver, they have a good running back, and they have some pieces on defense, but I don't think it's like it's not super special. It is not
a roster worthy to be in the bottom. Bottom 20.
It's kind of strange, and we're not going to get into everybody they're paying because we want this to kind of be an overview conversation. We'd certainly do that and really, map it out on who they're paying bad, but I feel like that would be bad content for the most part. So it's strange to see them at the very bottom. It'll be interesting to see the moves they make, but at this point, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, they're trying to pay Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wants that contract, wants a extension and all that, and I guess he's already under contract. His contract for next year is being being accounted into this. So that will be an interesting conversation, to say the least, however that ends up working out. But yeah, I agree. If Aaron Rodgers is there, the window is still open, and then maybe that's 1,000% fair. Let's move on to the next team, who picked 10th overall in the NFL draft, had a struggling year, obviously lost their quarterback. I'm talking about the Dallas Cowboys, who are $29 million over the cap for the 2022 season. And I mean, I look at that roster as really good. I mean, I get where that money's going, but very interesting. And their window hasn't even opened. Is it going to?
Yeah, I mean, it's Dallas, and when you pay, you have number one wide receiver being paid like a number one wide receiver. Mm-hmm. You have the running back who at one point was the number one running back, the quarterback who just re-upped, and he's up there in the top 5, I know. And then all these defensive, DeMarcus Lawrence is a stud at what he does at his position. Yeah. You have this linebacker core now, which in my head is why they drafted Parsons now.
Yeah, they had to.
It is the exact reason, because they know that they need that depth at linebacker right there to afford, because they're not going to pick up a Van Der Esch option.
They're definitely not going to pick up a Van Der Esch option. He's had too many injuries, and I think the sideline to sideline range isn't quite what they want. And they want, this is a team, and you look at like the defensive coordinator they brought in. It's their ex-head coach from Atlanta, so they're realistically probably going to be that Seattle type of scheme. You need faster linebackers. Van Der Esch doesn't really fit that system, and Parsons does. They also grabbed another rangy linebacker in the 4th round. Yeah. It was Cox, Jabril Cox from LSU. Thank you. Just another guy. I think honestly, I think Van Der Esch is going to be gone, and I don't think they're going to pay Jalen Smith either.
I don't think I'm sure they might want to pay Jalen Smith. I love what Jalen Smith's able to do, but I don't know if they can. That's what there's certain things that when you handcuff yourself to some of these offensive weapons like you do.
You have to.
There's a certain world where I would have let Amari Cooper go.
I absolutely would have let Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's not worth the contract he's getting.
And to be fair, I guess they didn't expect a CeeDee Lamb to be there where he was.
No,
they weren't ready for that at all. So when that happened, they kind of had to do that mainly to, cock block the Eagles and not let them do that, and also get what you're getting there. But Amari Cooper is being paid.
$20 million a year. Yeah, $20 million a year right now. That's his base salary, and I just pulled it up just to kind of look. $22 million cap hit. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money, and there's nothing they could do about it right now. I get it. You spent a first round pick on Amari Cooper. I mean, you traded a first round pick for him, so you spent a first round pick on him. You felt like you kind of had to pay him.
Good wide receiver.
They pay him, and then then they're sitting there. They're wanting everything I've heard at least is that they really wanted they really wanted the guy who went to the Jaguars. I can't think of his name.
I'm talking about a defensive back.
Defensive.
CJ Henderson.
No. He went to the Jaguars.
This year?
No, in the 2020 draft. He's out of LSU. Got that weird name. Claylavon Chase. I had it on the tip of my tongue too. They really wanted him, but they didn't expect a CeeDee Lamb to be there. I would assume they had their board as CeeDee Lamb, the top wide receiver, and they just couldn't pass up on the value there. And I get it. I mean, I loved CeeDee Lamb, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he affects how long Amari Cooper stays in Dallas. Probably not much longer.
Considering we just went from the Packers talking about how they actually have a window at 32 to the Cowboys at 31, who were picking top 10 for a reason. Cowboys have a lot of things that I can see promising.
They need help defensively, and they attacked it in draft.
They need help in that secondary a lot.
And the offensive line's gotten older too, so it's just strange to see them. Yeah,
they've lost a lot of that offensive line to just random circumstances too. It sucks.
Yeah, so I don't know. I look at this team. I feel like they're not, even though they did pay a Dak. I don't look at the way they're structured as a team that I'm really worried about as making a deep playoff run. And I guess we already knew that, but I mean, we're talking a year ago. They were a team that everyone thought we did too. We bought into the hype.
The thing is that they've been a team for a long time.
Every offseason, yeah, I absolutely agree. And in that division, all you have to do is get past Washington, and I mean, we don't know who's playing quarterback for Washington this year. Probably Minka Fitzpatrick, or not Minka Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I can't talk.
I think it's going to be Heineke.
You think it's Heineke? Yeah. Then we'll see. Hey, maybe it is Heineke. I'd love that underdog story. But moving on, Giants are under cap. I don't want to talk about every single team that's under cap, so we'll move on. Giants are under cap. Rams $16 million over the cap. Giants are also over the cap. Sorry, I misspoke there. Rams, obviously, they pay everybody, so it's very interesting the way the Rams are structured. And do you have any thoughts there? Or you want to talk about them at all?
I like the way the Rams build their team. I'm serious. I do.
Okay.
Listen.
Well, that's a difference in... Actually, let's get into it, because I think that's interesting.
It's a difference in overall mentality of how to build teams.
Okay.
And I've changed a lot over the years, too, whenever it comes to where you start building your team and looking at the infrastructure and building inside, as in big boys out, working on that stuff. But... listen, I have no problem with trading a late first-round pick for a guy that I know and I've already seen that potential be developed and hit. You still have to deal with the chemistry. You still have to deal with the fact, can it be a plug-and-play? You work in our system and scheme. The Rams are a good football team.
They are,
We're talking 3 years now, right, being out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't win that Super Bowl is because Jared Goff. I can 110%.
Matthew Stafford's there, they win that game. Matthew Stafford's there, they win that
Super
game.
Bowl. And if we're measuring this victory, that first-round pick, maybe that first-round pick 3 years ago that didn't work out for that guy that you traded for, that's happened.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. If you get a Lombardi for it, I'm telling you, I'm a Vikings fan. I would do any amount of picks for just one Lombardi.
Yeah.
I stand by that. I don't care what it jeopardizes in the future, because you know what? Our future at the going state is not winning Lombardis. If we jeopardize that already to get something done like the Rams have been doing, Matt Stafford, if he gets them over the hump and they win a Lombardi, I don't think people can criticize the way they built that team. Yeah.
And again, I don't criticize it. They are zigging when everyone else is zagging. I will say that.
Of course, it's very different.
Them, and I think the Seahawks are another team that, like, they don't value first round picks the way I feel like the rest of the league does in a strange way. And look, I get it. If you are a team that feels like you're a couple pieces away, you feel like you're an offensive coordinator who's always going to have your team in the right position, right situation to at least be competitive. You only need some of those big name pieces. Hey. Look, it worked for them. They were a good fucking team last year. They struggled with injuries. Their offense could not get off the ground passing wise, and that was a Jared Goff. Jared Goff struggled last year. There's no other way to say it. That's why they moved on. But I don't know. It feels like they're a team that's built on a house of cards, though. It feels like their structure is built so top heavy. And I totally get what you're saying. But if you miss, and if one of your big name, if Jalen Ramsey, God forbid, knock on wood, all those things went down this year, then you're spending 22, 25 million, whatever it is, on a guy who can't play. If God forbid 2 players on your defense go down, that's what, 50 million of your cap? 25% of your cap is gone. It's on the bound.
Click on it.
Yeah, I'm going to click on it.
It shows cap percentage with the way that it's based.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I look at it like that, and you're right. Okay, so 13% going to Aaron Donald, 12% going to 12%. That was exactly right. 25%. That's 25% of your team. 2 players on the defense is 25% of your team. Quarterbacks should be about 10 to 12%. So Matthew Stafford getting 12% of your team, not bad at all. Leonard Floyd getting 10% of your team, come on, that's overpaying. That's over. And granted, maybe they feel like they're a piece away. I get that. Cooper Kupp, look, I like Cooper Kupp a lot.
They have a lot
getting
of good
9% of your team,
cheaper
though?
deals, though. I look at a guy like Taylor Rapp at safety. Taylor Rapp is a very serviceable safety who fits in there for just a budget deal for now.
The thing that they live and die on is the fact that they are really good at drafting in the mid rounds, and they don't value picks. You look at their draft. I did a draft profile or the draft breakdown on it, and I talked about all of the trade backs that they do and all those things. Yeah. And it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're going to trade your first round picks, but you have to be able to hit on those mid round picks, and they feel like they have the right scouting department. They feel like they're good at finding those guys that fit their scheme, and doesn't always match what like the media or what like I would say the value is, but it doesn't fucking matter because they hit. They hit constantly.
I am team pro Rams trading picks away right now, but I don't like their second round picks that they do. I love a
so many wide receivers,
but I don't like a Van Jefferson, and I really don't like Tutu Atwell in the second. I'm sorry, I can see the upside behind these players. The reason I say upside is that you don't take an upside in the second round right there. Whenever there's other names on the board in those certain areas, and you have. You can't afford that commodity of the wide receiver pick when you need the depth pick at interior defensive lineman, or you need that linebacker pick, or anything like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. So there's certain ways Seattle does the same thing. I'm okay with Seattle trading away their picks though, because it's going to be somebody that we don't know anyways. I'm sorry,
saves us from when we do the live stream.
I think there's a lot of Seattle fans that out there would agree with that too. But
they made 2 picks this draft. They made 2 picks. I mean, that's crazy.
It's a different mentality, and I think you nailed it with the Rams and Seattle really having that mentality. But if it gets Lombardis, Seattle got one. Mm-hmm. One, right? It was only one.
Seattle got one. Yeah,
one.
Crazy that it was only
made
one.
It to 2. Yeah, they made it to 2.
It was only one,
but wasn't able to get that done.
Yeah, didn't run the ball.
If the Rams are able to do that, if the Rams are able to get a Lombardi after the Stafford and all this stuff, you can keep all the other. It's worth it.
Yeah. I love how this conversation kind of devolved, kind of molded into something different. But I really like it. I think this is kind of fun to me.
Success is measured in Lombardi.
Of course. So let's move on. A couple other teams that are over the cap right now: Falcons, Saints, Browns, Texans. God, Texans are over the cap. That's crazy. I'm going to click on this just real quick.
You're fine. Yeah, because
I'm curious what they're spending the money on.
Teams right now, this is 25 through 28. They're about 4 or 5 million over. You can manage that. That's breathable. There are certain moves you can restructure, you can cut, you can do. You're breathable. The other teams were in cap hell borderline.
Man, let's just talk about the Texans spending 8% of their cap on a Brandon Cooks, spending 7%, and this is the last organization, so I'm not blaming the current Texans, but just they're spending $11 million a year on Bradley Roby this year. They brought that in. That's new. That's a new contract. That is a new one. That's a 1-year deal.
Shaq Lawson, $10 million. Randall Cobb, $10.25 million.
Ridiculous
for Randall Cobb. Whitney Merciless Slow Butt, $7 million. Eric Murray, 6.7?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. The way they're spending their money is so crazy.
I think they're saying that we have it. We're just going to give it and get you out.
And granted, you're also paying Deshaun Watson 20.1% of your cap.
That's only 42 active players.
Yeah, damn. That's crazy. Oh man, this is all,
Man, I think we have slowly evolved into a shit on Texans podcast.
Oh god, I hate it so much. But I mean, kind of. All right, let's move on to the top. All right, let's look at teams that are looking pretty good for 2021. The Pittsburgh Steelers. And for all we talked about, they're trying to make one more run with Big Ben. They paid all these guys. We're gonna get one more. We're trying to push one more time, make a Super Bowl with Big Ben, get one more under their belt, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But man, they're in a good spot next year for either paying a big time free agent quarterback or trading up. They have a bunch of assets in cap space, at least $70 million projected cap space in 2021. And obviously, they're going to have to pay some guys. It's never going to be actually this high. But I do think it's interesting just to talk about some of these top names. Like does the Steelers window really close when Big Ben hangs it up?
Depending on what moves they make. I mean, you got to go target that quarterback. But, look at names like a Matt Stafford who was just able to be moved in the offseason. If Pittsburgh is able to land that same caliber guy, more than capable with that money right there.
Absolutely.
More than capable. Their window might open bigger.
Yeah.
Big Ben, I respect him. He's a legend of the game and very, very good, capable quarterback still. But with this cap, I mean, there's ways that you can push this team even further.
Yeah. And this is 2021, but yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
They're primed for success in the future with a good young core of a roster, an aging quarterback, but I think it's weird to think a lot of times when you have that aging quarterback, you don't have the cap to line up with that. I look at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
You really throw it all out there to invest in it and get it going. Yeah. Indianapolis Colts at number 2.
Their window's wide open.
Wide open, and they have 68. That's only $2 million separating 1 and 2.
That's after paying Carson Wentz too. $68 million available after paying Carson Wentz. That's ridiculous.
And what if they get the Carson Wentz that works because the 2017 coach, it all makes sense again.
Yeah.
What if they get that same form? This could be.
I think there's a real possibility he comes back to old form. I really do.
And they could be the guys for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about, you look at the AFC South, feels like the Titans took a step back. I think we both agree on that. Just with some of their free agent moves, they lost a lot of pieces there. But then you look at the Jaguars obviously taking a big step forward with the draft and kind of having a new range.
What happens?
It could be the Colts division for the next couple of years. It really could. Just depending on how it works with Carson Wentz. That's obviously the end all be all. I get the Bengals, another team. It seems like they never really spend money though, so we'll see what happens there. Dolphins, I think, are another interesting team. 4th highest projected cap space for 2022, and I mean they give some moves to be made, and I feel like they have a really good roster.
I was gonna say rant and rave on them, bro. It's your team.
Listen, and obviously I am a Dolphins fan and all those other things. It all is dependent on Tua this year. All the pieces are in place. We have the wide receiver core. We are 3 good wide receivers on that football team. Obviously finished up with a Jalen Waddle at 6 overall, great pick, right? We have. I feel like I genuinely believe a Jalen Phillips is going to be the centerpiece of that defense in the next couple of years. I think he's that kind of guy. I really believe that, and I could be wrong there. But you look at that defense as a whole; they're built through their DBs, and when you have, I mean, they're 3-4 deep on DBs as far as like guys that can. You have the top 2. the top 2 paid cornerbacks in the league right now, still have the cap space to afford them. And then we have some younger guys that I trust on islands, not against some of the top wide receivers in the NFL.
But they're 3rd and 4.
But at 3rd and 4, yeah, I trust them on islands. They want to play man-to-man and do a lot of unique things with their linebackers and defensive ends. It doesn't even matter if Jalen Phillips hits or not. I think they're going to be a really dangerous football team. They were last year. Their defense was really good last year, and I think they finished up bringing in the last couple pieces that they needed to bring in to really be that, Patriots defense in the South. I mean, we call them the South Patriots for a reason, and it all does depend on, can Tua develop? If he can, I mean, we got some money next year. We can afford to go buy a big running back if our running back situation doesn't improve. We didn't really address it with any serious money or picks or anything like that this past year. We can afford to go get a top lineman if we need to. Whatever we need going into next year, because you got to remember, this is the 3rd year of a 3-year rebuild, right? So this year wasn't supposed to be awesome. This is the year that we're supposed to see some success, maybe flirt with playoffs. We're ahead of schedule because we were flirting with playoffs last year when we weren't supposed to be. It's really supposed to be the 2020 season where we're supposed to be competitive and really good. That was always the plan the whole time from, going back a couple years ago when we were doing the rebuild and we were terrible. So we're on schedule. We're actually ahead of schedule. And I mean, we have a lot of moves that can be made. Pay anybody that we need to pay that's on the roster, whatever we need to do. We're going to be able to, if Tua hits and Tua is awesome, we're going to be able to afford him and still have a roster around him to be good. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, and this is what happens when you have a lot of young early picks. You get a lot of picks in the draft and you hit on them or they do well. That's what happens. You start to look pretty good cap space wise.
Yeah, exactly, because you have them under that budget deal for the time that you do.
It was 4 years.
I dedicate this season outside in looking from, not being a Dolphins fan, of course, seeing it as, yes, this is the year for Tua. I think no matter what happens, I do not pull the plug on him. I let him go out there for better or
17
worse.
games. Let's see it.
17 games, and we see it. We see the good, the bad, the ugly. Mm-hmm. We see the bad. I want to see how he handles the bad. Can he turn the bad into good? Can he turn the ugly 2 weeks in a row and bounce back from that? Any of those things, because it just so happens that the teams at 3 and 5 are the Bengals and Chargers, who it looks like they have hit with their quarterbacks. I'm not saying anything.
Hey, no, you're not wrong.
They have hit though.
You're not wrong.
You need to see what he is
what
and what
he
isn't.
Yeah.
For better or worse, so you can, because you're primed right now for this spot. Let's say all this Deshaun stuff clears. Let's just say it does. You can pay him. You can make him the number one paid quarterback.
We still technically have assets, not as many as we did, obviously. This past offseason.
If he wants out or they want him gone, you can pay the number one play.
We can afford to pay him. We can afford to pay him. We could send Tua over there, and we could give 3 first-round picks over the next 2 years to go get him. I mean, yeah, we have just as many assets as anybody else.
Isn't even a fraction of that, but
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's why you need to dedicate this year, figure out what he is or isn't. So maybe you can move on and go forward, because
you're making me happy. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
I would hate to see such a good young roster turn into just getting aged, and you pay the guy that you probably shouldn't here and there. That happens with every single team. Right now you have a window, and man, it's opening, and you're finally getting the air. You're finally getting it as a Dolphins fan.
And by the way, I mean, let's just talk about one last thing before we move on. You want to talk about how to rebuild, how to build a roster from the bottom up. I think the Dolphins, they just taught a master class to the rest of the NFL on how to attack the draft, how to attack free agency, how to take a team that was in the gutter, terrible. We knew we were bad. Everybody knew we were bad. How to take a gutter football team, band together, take every player that remember that 2019 offseason. Every player that wasn't buying in, every player that had an issue, all of these things. Yeah, it sucks that we sent a Minkah Fitzpatrick away, but I think it helped the culture more than a Minkah Fitzpatrick would have helped on the field at that time. Because were we going to be significantly better with him? I mean, come on, maybe a little, but I mean, at the end of the day, we still weren't going to be a good football team. Love to have him now. Would love to have him now. And I think, he was going to be a big part of that. But you trade him because he wasn't fitting in the culture. He wasn't buying in. And at the end of the day, I think that was more important. He
wanted to be good now.
Yeah, of course. And hey, I don't blame him.
No, exactly.
He's got to make the best decision for him.
It's hard.
I have no hard feelings.
Y'all made the right choice. You made the choice at the time that was just like, damn, why?
But we got a first round pick out of it. We're able to turn it into a left tackle. So, I mean, we'll see what happens there. It's just another piece. So I don't know. I think it's a masterclass. I really think they could not have done anything better. Let's move away from cap space, because now we're just getting into, project. Every team is supposed to have a positive cap number. It's interesting to talk about the teams that don't.
Since it went down, because now it's about to bounce back.
Exactly. And this was projected for what they are expecting that bounce back to be, but we obviously don't know the exact numbers. Moving on, I just want to talk about a couple teams I think are going into a window that maybe people aren't talking about. Carolina Panthers is the first name I want to talk about of a team that I think I don't know if Sam Darnold's the long-term answer. I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think they are a team I think is going into a Super Bowl window. I think they're making the playoffs this year. You look at a team who really overturned that entire defense in 2 seasons with some young players that hit. I mean, they hit in the mid rounds, they hit on early picks, and obviously you're very high on a JC Horn. They attacked their biggest need at cornerback there.
Jeremy Chin as well. Right?
Jeremy Chin was a hit.
Derek Brown, the Panthers fans will back me up on that. They may not have liked the pick whenever it happened immediately. Derek Brown hit.
And he was better than Simmons. Every Panthers fan wanted Simmons over Derek Brown, and look at this. Look at where they're at now. Simmons is, hey, we'll see what happens with him in Arizona.
He's still an experiment.
But Derek Brown is the guy in the middle of that defensive line. I'm just saying, I think, and then you look at their offense, man, they have 2 really good pieces that we know about. Obviously, DJ Moore, you have Anderson, and then they add in a Terrace Marshall, who is the same wide receiver that has already worked with Joe Brady in LSU. Joe Brady was the OC for LSU. That year they went, the Joe Burrow year, obviously, and he's now the OC for the Carolina Panthers, bringing in a Terrace Marshall. They're going to know exactly how to use him. It could be interesting to see how they utilize him. I think he'll be like the boundary wide receiver a little bit, but I mean, I feel like has killed it in the draft the past couple of years, killed it in free agency here and there, and I think they're on a big upswing. I think they have a chance to be really good this year.
Man, you didn't even name CMC.
I didn't. You're right.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
I like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I'll defend Sam Darnold in areas that a lot of people wouldn't. I've seen throws out of Sam Darnold that if you blurt out the quarterback, you'd be like, that was Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Or that was Zach Wilson, because they have that off-body mechanics, ability to make those big-time
I like Sam Darnold. Yeah, of course.
There's a reason he got drafted where he did. There was a lot of promise. He was on a team devoid of talent and with the worst coach that I have ever seen when it comes to handling player relations, being able to build a team. Listen, dude missed every single thing. It was like, okay, well, if he can't build the relations, he can coach, right? He knows the X's and O's. I would doubt that. I think he solely got that job. I mean, yes, he has a repertoire back in the past, but I think that's solely.
We're talking about Adam Gase, by the way. Gase. Just so we know.
Adam Gase built. I think he only got that job because of Peyton Manning endorsement.
The fact that Adam Gase, really threw the Dolphins into, we were the worst team in the NFL for a reason. I think Adam Gase ruined the locker room and all those other things. And then the Jets were like, yeah, we're going to take that guy who couldn't handle the locker room in Miami. Well, let's see if he can handle the locker room and the media in New York. Let's see what happens here. Stupid, idiotic. I don't get it. We'll see what happens with Adam Gase. I'll get back to my point.
The Sam Darnold thing. Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. I think there's a world where he can flourish and be the answer. And you have a minimal investment right now. It really
second round pick. That's all you spent.
A second round pick for the upside that could be a Sam Darnold, that we have seen the potential that it could be. If it hits, I think you don't have to worry about that. If it doesn't, go ahead and move on, and you'll be fine. You're not handcuffed to anything right now. Oh,
and by the way, a second round pick. There were 3 picks technically. You basically got them all back by trading back twice in the second round this past year. You essentially recouped all the assets you spent on a Sam Darnold, and you got Terrace Marshall in the second round. That's a fucking steal. Because when Terrace Marshall went in the second round, he was my last first round projected player that I had on the board. And granted, my board means absolutely nothing. I get that, but I'm just saying, you can't. They couldn't have scripted any better, in my opinion.
They're a very good team, built for success. And I didn't realize this, but looking at their record last year, regress to the mean. We talk about that a lot. They had a lot of one possession games that did not go in their favor.
8 games lost. 8.
8 lost?
8 lost by one score or less. That could have been changed with quarterback.
One that sticks out in my head immediately is the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. Took them to the wire in one of the most. It was a very exciting game offensively to watch. 8 games.
8 games. Yeah, Woo! Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like they really, that's why they wanted an upgraded quarterback. And man, I remember doing a video that got absolutely, I'm going off topic hard. I got absolutely fucking railed for saying that Bridgewater couldn't push the ball down the field. Like I don't think I've gotten meaner comments ever on any other video I've done than that video. And the 2 takeaways from that video, like that we did second week of the season, it was Panthers versus Raiders. One was that Jonathan Abrams, excuse me, their safety for the Raiders was really struggling. The Raiders ended up going into this draft, took 3 safeties, so I think that was confirmed. And the other was that Bridgewater couldn't push the ball down the field, couldn't get the power in his leg, and all those other things. Confirmed. I'm sorry.
I would have told you. I would have told you that. Bridgewater is not built for that. I'm a Vikings fan, and I got to watch many years of Bridgewater.
Yeah.
He set the rookie completion percentage record for passes under 15 yards. Mm-hmm. Dude can dice you up short.
Yeah.
But when it comes to pushing the ball
great backup quarterback.
When pushing the ball in the field, that's kind of weird that you got as much flag for that. You talk about your Panthers being good, or the Panthers being good, not your Panthers. Yes. I apologize. I'm going to talk about a team that I think is a true quarterback away. If they were to land someone, I can't help but say Aaron Rodgers.
I know where you're going.
No, you don't.
I think I do. You're going Washington, right?
Yes, I'm going Washington.
Okay, you got to go Washington.
It is the Washington football team.
Yeah.
They nailed free agency, A++. You know, their draft was a very serviceable draft. I think they shored up a lot of areas. Some of the picks here and there, not bad. I see the upside, and they got the linebacker in the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll pull it up right now. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
This is a team, if they're able to get that quarterback spot filled out, Jamin Davis out of Kentucky.
And then got Cosme in the second.
Cosme in the second is what really helps out the most for me. But Davis flies around. He is fast. He fits right in with that defense and just mean. They're a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
No matter what. They were probably a top 5 defense last year statistically. They got better with William Jackson, adding in this linebacker. They signed a few other pieces too. Get the quarterback fixed. This is a team that is scary.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely agree. You look at you mentioned their defensive line, right?
Yes,
best defensive line in the NFL right now. I mean, I really don't even think it's close. There's just nobody else, no other defensive line that comes to mind that has that many pieces. Some people are going to say the Rams.
It's
top to bottom,
picks, man.
Top to bottom, man. The Washington has a better defensive line. It's amazing the pieces they got. I'm just going to repeat everything you said, so I don't want to do that. So I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more. They are a quarterback away. I really thought there was a chance they were going to be aggressive and go get a quarterback, but I get it. You trust in Ryan Fitzpatrick. If Ryan Fitzpatrick can just like dial down the interceptions and be a little bit
Why
calmer.
do you think it's him so certain? I think it's Heineke, man.
I know you do. Oh, you're right. I keep forgetting that.
Chase Young went up to Heineke after the game and was pointing to the jersey on like the name on the back. How many different guys said that they would get he left everything out on the field in that game. Sure, they didn't truly give the Buccaneers a real scare, but they gave them a better fight than what the Packers did.
Yeah, look, I'm not hating on it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know in depth on Heineke.
At the end of the day, we're splitting hairs because I don't think either quarterback
is the long term answer.
Washington.
Yeah, okay, so we're good. Yeah. We're on the same page. It's fucking Ryan Fitzpatrick now. I don't care. It'll be interesting to see who starts day one. You want to do a shot bet on that? Who starts week 1?
Give me Taylor Heineke.
Bet. All right, that's a shot bet. We'll have to write that down because we always forget our shot bets on here. Okay, so that was a great name. I absolutely agree. I'm going to look for one more here before we close out this conversation. Arizona Cardinals. I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals here. Just looking at it, and I know they're in a terrible division. They're in a great division. It's terrible for them because they have to play the Rams twice, the 49ers twice, and the Seahawks twice. That sucks. But I look at the Arizona Cardinals as a team that I think has officially fixed their offensive line with the pieces they've gotten. They're pretty much overhauled that entire offensive line that was so terrible 2 years ago. They obviously have a Kyler Murray who you hate. You think he's the worst quarterback in the NFL, but I actually think he's really good. For some reason, Jacob just absolutely hates him. Thinks he's horrible.
I don't hate Kyler.
But I think he's kind of good. He hates him.
I love this.
They have a Hopkins who, I think he's pretty good. You hate him.
Yeah. I just hate the Cardinals now, don't I?
I love their defense. I love their D coordinator. They do a lot of interesting things there.
I hate him.
I just think they're going to be a good team. They're maybe not a Super Bowl team just because they're arguably the worst team in their own division. But man, they have some pieces. They're going to be really interesting. They are another team. Did I say third? I'm sorry. Yeah, the worst team in their division. And I get that is an issue, but I look at this team, another team that is way ahead of schedule for a team that is in the third year of their 3-year rebuild that really should come in. And I think they can win 10, 11 games. I really do. I think they're going to be competitive with every team in their division. I think they're going to be competitive with every team they play. I'm very excited about the Arizona Cardinals.
I think there's a chance that they can win 10 and 11 games. The biggest problem is that you have 6 games.
Yeah, that are not for sure.
They're straight up coin flips.
Yeah.
I'd like to give you some at home. I don't know. I think you split here and there. That's the thing. That's going to determine whether they are. It happened last year. A playoff team at 11 wins or missing the playoffs at 8, 9 wins wherever they ended up falling. Could be a 7 depending on if some things don't go their way. They're a good team. I like the way that they built their team a lot. They really are investing in a lot of offensive weapons. I'm a huge Rondale Moore fan.
Yeah.
Did not want to see Rondale Moore go there.
No.
I just don't think there's room. I just don't know where he's going to get to fit in. I really wanted to see Rondale Moore.
I think he's going to be the guy. I really do.
What?
I do. Yeah, you don't think he'll be the guy? I think he'll be the guy.
In what world does he get to fit in?
I think he'll be playing opposite of Hopkins. Who else is there?
Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, yeah.
I would take Kirk because I'm not even going to sit here and boast A.J. Green or Larry Fitzgerald. They're there solely on the fact.
Yeah, I thought Larry actually retired. Did he not officially retire yet?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think he did. I'm going to look that up right now. You could be right there.
We're assholes for not giving him props then. That's
we missed that if he did. Interesting. Look, let's talk about. I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of to sidestep into our last big topic that we're going to talk about here, and that is the overall the win percentage of last year's
Strength of schedule.
Strength of schedule. I can't talk. I talk for too long. I talk for 45 minutes. I can't say anything. Strength of schedule for the Cardinals here. They have the 13th easiest schedule or 13th hardest schedule in the NFL, and that makes sense. They play a pretty tough team. And you got to remember, this is based on win percentage from last year, so that doesn't account in a 49ers who had a less than awesome season because of injuries. So like it's honestly probably going to be even worse than that. Interesting to see. I mean, middle of the road. So I thought I'd throw that in there. I'm going to look up the Cardinals thing.
The Cardinals thing. Larry
Fitzgerald, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're built for success. I mean, the way that they've been able to piece it together was really, I think, the biggest move in their franchise history was doing this DeAndre Hopkins deal. Mm-hmm. It gave them a true one. It really helped out Kyler. Kyler's a great quarterback, and he's electric. Yeah. You
just hate him.
I'll shove it to you right now and ask you to rank the quarterbacks in that division, though. Exactly. Oh. And I'm not talking.
I mean, he's not last.
I'm not talking future. I'm not talking future or age. You can.
It's obviously Russ. Oof. Right now, 1 year, 2021 season. Right now,
he goes above Stafford.
I'll take him ahead of Stafford. I will.
He does.
1 year,
but it is close.
Yeah. It was a decision. Yeah.
I want people to understand that because I'm not going to put Stafford above a Kyler for this year.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
By the way, Larry Fitzgerald has not officially retired, but sportsbetting.com or .ag, excuse me, has the odds of him retiring before the season at -250. So odds are not there. But
I think
the gambling is there.
You'd think that he might just because of where they attacked the draft and the addition of AJ Green.
Yeah, he's probably going to retire. He's probably waiting for a moment to retire in front of whatever they end up doing because they did grab AJ Green. They did grab a wide receiver in the second. Yeah, so I do.
I want to see him come to Minnesota. He was the ball boy for the Vikings for many years. That's where he's from, is Minnesota.
Yeah, have 1 year with.
He always said he wanted to play for the Vikings.
Hey, he could go have one good season. I mean, shit, he would.
Can you name our third wide receiver?
No, I can't.
It's bad.
Osa is it
Olabisi Johnson?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know it starts with an O. It's a weird name.
That's bad.
That is bad. All right, we're getting off topic here.
You're good.
Any takeaways? Just looking, I'm gonna put it up on the board here for everybody. Just looking at the strength of schedule here, the Steelers have the hardest strength of schedule for 2021 season. The Eagles have the easiest, which makes sense. I mean, they're in the NFC East.
The NFC least.
The NFC least, and they were the worst team in the NFC least last year. So that does make sense. That checks out. Dolphins. The fifth easiest schedule. And granted, this never actually ends up working out the way it's supposed to, I guess. But any takeaways here?
The Super Bowl champs, the Mr. Run It Backs with the GOAT, are at 29.
That's ridiculous.
Their opponent win percentage is .465.
That's crazy.
And the craziest part about it is that division, I think, was a successful division overall. Well, I guess when you take them, but you take their record out of it whenever it goes into that. So I guess the Saints would be the ones that were really pushing the envelope.
Yeah, and part of this, because I was actually looking for a different way to grade this, because I really love what Sharp Football Stats does. They take it based on what the Vegas odds of them winning the Super Bowl are, or what the Vegas odds are of their record, and they base it off that, because Vegas is always dead on. So it's actually projecting what the record's going to be, as opposed to just taking what last year's record. Because like you look at the Bucs, part of the reason they have an easier schedule is because last year they beat a lot of the teams that they have to play again, right? They beat a lot of their teams in the division and things like that. That adds into it. It doesn't account for a Panthers that we think are going to get better, the Falcons that we think are going to get better. They're in their division, things like that.
Like you said, 49ers having some injuries.
Exactly. So it can't account for some of those things. But I still think it's interesting. I just wanted to look. We'll look at the top here with the Bears having a really hard division, or the Bears, Packers, Vikings. I mean, that kind of makes
it. Just NFC North.
Yeah, exactly. The NFC North are going to have a tough one. The Ravens are an interesting one. They're going to have a tough one. Yeah, it's broke down by division a little bit here. But any other takeaways you want to take before we move out?
No, NFC North's going to be interesting this year, just as a fan looking at it outside in. So I would like to think that we can make a move, but with the Packers, I just want to see Rodgers go. Yeah. And then we got it, right? We would be
better than the Lions for sure.
The betting favorites to win that division.
Would you be ahead of the Bears?
Yeah. Look it up right now.
Okay, but no, time out. Because let's have this conversation. Because we know the Vikings are. We don't know what the Bears are with Justin Fields. You like Justin Fields more than me.
I like Justin Fields a lot.
You like him more than me, and I don't hate Justin Fields at all. I think he went right where he's supposed to. But I look at the Bears as a team. They have a great defense. They have good pieces on offense. They have an okay offensive line. I don't like Nagy, and I have questions about the quarterback just because he's a rookie and all those things that go with it. But I don't know if it's slam dunk that the Bears aren't projected to be better than the Vikings this year.
I think the Vikings, I'm pretty sure I looked at it a few days ago. That's why I was saying bring it up. Because the Vikings are the betting favorite. They're second in the division.
Really? They're the betting favorite?
Yeah, they are. Well, I mean, Packers, of course. But
of course.
Take Rodgers out. Vikings would take that spot.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're better than that. I think Justin Fields needs to sit a year.
Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, I do.
I think he needs to sit a year solely on the fact that because of what Matt Nagy said. Matt Nagy said that he has no problem sitting him.
Yeah, but the second
I know it's coach talk.
Andy Dalton throws one incomplete pass over the middle, he's out. The second that Andy Dalton runs out of the pocket trying to avoid pressure and gets tackled for like a 7-yard sack, he's out. Like the fans are going to be ruthless.
I just want to see No, you're right, because the fans are ready because they know how good their team is.
They're done.
They know how good this roster is.
They know how lackluster the offensive game plan has been, and they know how lackluster their quarterback's been. They're ready to see what Fields can bring.
Well, and not to mention,
I hope he starts day one. I really do. I don't want to play the game.
I want to see him. I want to see him do well. That's the problem, is that how big of a fan I am for him. If he doesn't start this year, and it means that he can be better on in the long run, even if that's at Chicago. God, I don't want Chicago to have the franchise guy.
I get that. But what I'm saying is, like, okay, do you really want to be having this conversation week 3? Are they going to move on from Andy Dalton yet? They're 2-1. Do you really want to have that conversation?
Because
by week 6, there's absolutely no way that Justin Fields isn't starting. There's no fucking way.
I think you're right. Because you're a team you're too good of a roster to sit there and just be ass because you have Andy Dalton play.
And you're a team that, first of all, we know this franchise is willing to let go of their coaching staff after 1 year after drafting a quarterback. They did it with Trubisky, which I think definitely stunted Trubisky's growth for sure. But you look at Nagy, and it's like, man, he's on the hot seat. Why would he not want to get as many good looks at this Justin Fields? All he needs is to create a couple plays, have a couple big highlight reel plays that ESPN is playing on repeat, and he has another year of job security.
You're right.
I believe it wholeheartedly.
What about
from day
week one starter?
Week 1 start. It's going to be Andy Dalton. I know that I'm not going to end up. I'm not projecting Justin Fields to be the starter. I'm saying I want him to be the starter from day one.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because and part of it's like I think it's stupid. I think the whole conversation every fucking year there's always a rookie quarterback. When are they going to start Tua? When are they going to start Justin Herbert? When are they going to start? And the Justin Herbert thing didn't actually happen because it was a surprise start. But you get what I'm saying, right? I just start from week 1. Like,
God, what if Herbert never gets that start?
Man, I don't know. Yeah, it still probably happens at some point in the season. I really believe that. I don't believe in Tyrod Taylor.
I think dominoes can fall. I think the psychological aspect of when guys really get to play and how it goes plays a huge aspect in the game.
So I get that, because that's another part of this argument. are you really going to make it in the NFL if you can't handle losing early on in your career? Is that really the domino that falls that makes or breaks your career? And if it is, what did they really ever have a chance? Like that's my argument. If you can't handle it up here,
if you're not built for the forge, don't get near the fire. I get it, but man, it's sometimes these guys get into their own heads. And listen, you're wearing a Florida State thing. I know it's weird to put it on a kicker, but we saw collegiately one of the greatest kickers we have ever seen in the history of the game. And I would argue that speaks more on the psychological fact than anything, because when it comes to a kicker, you have one job regardless of where you're doing it, at a high school level, a college level, a pro level, in your backyard level. Mm-hmm. You show up, you kick the ball, you do the same thing.
Yeah, but kicking is like golf. Kicking, because you're right. I would agree with that. Football's not golf. Football is instinct. Football is training and instinct and training your body. Yes. A quarterback specifically, you're training all off season to have your throwing motion, your mechanics. You're not thinking about it. You're just letting it rip. Right? Like, you think Tom Brady's sitting back there and thinking exactly how he needs to throw the football? No, he's letting it rip because he thought about it all offseason.
Yeah, repetition.
Exactly. So I get it with the kicker, and you're absolutely, that's a great point by you. That's a great point, because exactly what happened. The whole story with Aguayo is he went out there and tried to kick some 50 and 60-yard kicks in front of the entire team, missed them, and it got in his head, and it got to the point where, I mean, I still remember watching that Hard Knocks season where it was
second-round pick,
it was a second-round pick as a kicker. He was supposed to be a superstar. He was a superstar. He missed one kick at the college level. What changed? You're right. It was absolutely in his head. Yeah. So I 1,000% get that. I just at the end of the day, I'll still say it. Aguayo did not have the mental makeup to ever make it in the NFL, regardless if he would have had one or two good seasons. He was gonna miss at some point. A fan was gonna boo at some point, and he would have flamed out. So regardless of how it happened, it happened earlier than anybody expected. But I would say it doesn't matter.
Daniel Carlson, kicker for the Vikings, horrible start. Auburn fan. He's the all-time SEC leader in points ever in the history of the game. Got cut from the Vikings. Now is one of the best kickers out there for the Raiders, doing great things. He was able to. He
had the mental makeup to make it back, come back. Yeah. Right. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a mindset.
It's tough though. I can't help but think when you go back and look at different careers, different paths, if they would have landed with different coaches, if that coach Trubisky, if that coach wouldn't have been fired.
Yeah.
There's so many different
I think that's a bigger aspect of it. I think you're absolutely right on that. I think the coaching and the scheme change is a much bigger factor than
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota got fucked over. I will sit here and tell you that Marcus Mariota was never going to be a superstar. He's going to be a great backup for a long time in the NFL. I believe that. Like, we'll be talking about Marcus Mariota 7 years from now as a backup. Like, I really believe that. But kind of the same thing as like a Tyrod Taylor. Marcus Mariota probably will start somewhere else at some point. But I mean, again, to your point,
doesn't mean he should.
Yeah, exactly. To your point, honestly. But Ryan Tannehill is another example of a guy who kept having to learn a new system every fucking year, and now he's finally moved on from the Dolphins shit show, went to the Titans. He's been in essentially one scheme, ever since he's been with the Titans and Flores, and it's been great, right? Not right. Flores, you know what I'm saying. Their coach. Vrabel, thank you. All right. I think that's good. Hey, I love how we get into like random little arguments at the end there. That's it. 56 minutes in. I think we're good. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much if you are a new sub to check out our pod, and if you're enjoying it, hey, we really appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought. Give us any insight you have on any of the conversations we hit. We do this every week. Comes out on Wednesday or Thursday. We record it on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll be back next week. Peace out.
7.